Hello, hello. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Hello, everyone.
Amazing. Miguel, where are you? Are you back over in Europe? Are you in the States?
Yeah, I'm in London at home, but coming to the States on Saturday for NFTLA, so excited about that.
Nice. Are you sticking around for an FTMYC? I guess we've still got some time for that, but it's kind of around the corner, yeah?
Yeah, no, unfortunately, I don't think I can make it to NFTLA. I have things to do on this side, unfortunately. I'm gonna have a lot of FOMO.
Yeah. Yeah, I've gone to NFTMYC for the past 2 years, and this year I'm going to be going to Japan during that time, partially for some crypto stuff, but also just partially for fun. But I'm going to Dow Tokyo, which should be pretty exciting.
That's amazing. Yeah, Japan is always fun, so yeah,
Yeah, it'll
jealous
be my
about that.
first. It'll be my first time. Forever Punks, how you doing? Can you hear us?
I can hear you. I am currently in sunny Barcelona. Miguel, I actually had lunch yesterday with Alex, your friend, the ape. So he's saying hi. And yeah, hope to have you over to Barcelona in the coming, I guess, month.
Yeah, I go often. I have to go soon also for some of the film stuff. So yeah, we'll definitely catch up. Excited.
Nice, nice. I see Phantom in the audience. Feel free to hop off if you want and say hi. Casimir as well, if you want.
Yeah, anybody out there who wants to come chat, just raise your hand. We'll do our best to get you up. Man, my feed is like overrun with GPT for tweets. I mean, it's absolutely insane.
So I didn't follow too closely. Do you want to maybe summarize what's up on that front? I saw that there was like a launch a couple of days ago, and then there was like Elon Musk talking with the founder of what was it, Didi or something, the Chinese guy. But what's the newest on that front?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't actually see that bit about Elon and their founder, but I mean, there's just a new evolution of ChatGPT is out, GPT-4. I think it might be premium only. I'm not entirely sure, but I'm getting it today to fuck around with it and test it out. And it just seems like it has a lot like deeper functionality and capabilities. I mean, it's just better at everything kind of across the board, but it has a few new feature sets, and I think it can just generally process a lot longer text as well. So now it's kind of to a point where you can have it like digest and spit out like almost like an entire novel. It's like getting a computer with more RAM or something. But my favorite tweet I saw yesterday was this dude. He was like talking to Chat GPT, and he's like, okay, like chat, like I'm gonna be your like human liaison for launching a business. You have $100. Like, what would you do? And Chat GPT basically was like, oh, we should do some like affiliate marketing and like a really trendy niche, like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and like eco-friendly projects was like one of his examples. So this guy like continues to like talk with Chat GPT and extract more information like about what Chat GPT wants to do with the business. The Chat GPT is like, okay, like let's build a website. And the guy's like, okay, like $8 gone. Like, what should the website like name be? Like for the domain, like blah blah blah. Okay, we have $90 left. What should we spend it on? And it's a really interesting thread. And very quickly, like the guy actually has like an operating business with the first blog post, and he even received like a $500 or $1,000 sponsor to plug them at the end of his thread, as well as I think in his blog post. So his little $100 business within less than 24 hours um, has generated like I think over $1,500 in revenue. I mean, it's fascinating. Granted, this guy already had 14,000 followers on Twitter, so he definitely has a leg up. But it's really fascinating to see, like Chat GPT just kind of go like right for the throat with like affiliate marketing um, systems. I thought it's really interesting.
That's crazy and a bit scary if you think of it.
I think
Yeah,
Well, my
yeah,
Valko,
we're
side,
fucked.
I think it's premium, but actually you can't just get it because I signed up, but there's like a wait list or something. As long as I'm as far as I know, because I wanted to use it, but it said you have to sign up and we'll let you know.
Oh shit. I definitely got to look into that then. Yeah, my client, one of them was like, wants me to investigate automating some of their marketing. And was like, oh, we'll pay for ChatGPT 4 for you if you want. I don't even know how much it costs, but that definitely motivated me to like figure it out, sign up today. So uh, hopefully I can get off that wait list.
Well, let us know your findings.
Yeah. Well, this is really exciting. Glad to see a room full of punks and some old friends and some new friends. Me and Forever Punks decided like that we personally wanted to do some Twitter Spaces because we think it's good for public speaking and getting our faces and brands out there. And we like kind of did some talking back and forth on what it should be. And we both really like building things and entrepreneurship. So we wanted that to be a big focus of it. But we also realized like, the punk community is like a really strong group of builders and founders and entrepreneurs who are building, things for the punk community, things for Web3, and some of us like even things just out of Web3. So there's this tremendous like base of humans that are like incredibly wise, beyond their years with regards to starting and growing businesses. And so we thought, okay, like that could probably be our niche. Like, why don't we focus on punk builders, punk entrepreneurs, and create a platform for them to share, or us to share our collective wisdom with the world. And so that's really how we've structured this space, and that's kind of what we're optimizing for. We want to like host a space, hosted by punks for the people, so that we can kind of share our stories and our learnings and everything along the way. Sorry if there are birds in the background. I'm trying to get my daily steps in. And yeah, I'll mute now and maybe hand it off to
that's
Forever Punks.
no, I actually love the birds in the background, that they're real and it's not just some background tone that put on. I posted the link in a couple of groups, so guys, feel free to share the link so that more people can join and chat with all of us. Yeah, welcome. Maybe I had one more comment on the Chat GPT thing from earlier on. So we're currently working on some smart contract related stuff with Forever Punks. And we are doing like kind of security stuff, auditing of the smart contracts. And last week we saw that one of the applications of ChatGPT 4 was, you can just paste a chunk of Solidity code into it, and then it would run you through, it would run the audits automatically, and it would like point out to you what would be, the vulnerabilities, like the high security issues and stuff like that. And it was quite impressive. So we did it, and it found some stuff. Of course, like luckily not severe, but it did the work that us developers would do in, I don't know, like 3-4 days, and it just cranked through it, and it was pretty impressive to see that.
What
Uh,
were the results
especially,
like? Was it kind of like, hey, here's like a
well,
P0 issue?
exactly. So I mean, typically an audit looks like that. You hire someone who goes away and dives into your code. And I don't know, for the developers out there, it's not trivial to dive into a new code base that you do not know. And so usually the auditor, he takes a couple of days, if not a week, just to like immerse himself into the code base, into the new code base, and then write some sort of a report, like I don't know, bullet points of what he thinks, of what he found, stuff like that. And so this Chat GPT thing did it very quickly, like that step very quickly, and with relevant feedback. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if that's at the moment a full replacement of human code auditing, but it's quite interesting to say the least, and it was at a fraction of the cost, right? So it's nowhere near what a real audit would cost.
Oh, that that's pretty cool. Yeah, I mean, I'd love to see the output from that. I'm curious how it compares to some other like audits I've
I
run in the
even
past.
saw I even saw I even saw a tweet about this the other day. Maybe I'll find it and I'll share it with you guys. And it's quite cool.
Yeah. What was the prompt like? Was it pretty simple, like run an audit on this Solidity code?
Yeah. Here's a chunk of Solidity code. Like analyze it and find security vulnerabilities, and then chunk. I'll find the tweet because there's one which is really nice and simple that explains it. But what scares me a bit is that like a couple of years ago, like 8 7 years ago, I worked at Uber. I was an analyst at Uber, and we thought that, like simple jobs would be the first ones that would be automated away. Like, for example, the taxi driver, right? And we didn't dream at all that, one day, like very complex jobs like a software developer or a data analyst, those type of jobs would be like taken away by I guess AI, and it's pretty impressive to see what's coming up with related to those stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen ChatGPT succeed with like even some like deeply creative tasks, like hey, write me a script for a YouTube video promoting this project focused on points XYZ, and then it'll like do that, and then you can be like, oh, like now like write out like the shot list and stuff, and it'll take you pretty far. It's pretty interesting. I'm definitely going to be spending some time with GPT-4 later today. All right, cool. So today we've got Miguel up on stage with us. I met Miguel for the first time IRL in LA at a CryptoPunk meetup I was hosting with Wilcox, who is like one of the top five. I think he's number four holders of CryptoPunks in the world, and I think the single largest minter of CryptoPunks. So me and Will Cox decided to fly out to LA just for shits and gigs, and then we figured, oh, looking at Punks Club map, it looks like there's like at least 50 or 60 punks here. Like we might as well just host our own little meetup and like meet them all. So Miguel was in town. We connected, had a blast. There were a bunch of other cool punks there, and we've kept in like loose contact since. And that was when I learned he was working on this pretty cool NFT film project called Calladita, and we thought it would be fun to invite Miguel up on stage, talk a little bit about his project, why he's building it, what he's learning, excuse me, what he's learned along the way, and maybe like what sort of takeaways you guys can get out of it. So I'll pass the mic over to you, Miguel. We'll do maybe 10 minutes or so chatting about Calladita, and then afterwards, if people have questions, they can like post them. They can DM me. They can reply to the tweet with them, or even ask to come up on stage. And we'd love to do a little Q&A session.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you, Valko, for inviting me, and great to be among so many punks and friends. Um, so Calladita is my first feature-length movie. I've always been a filmmaker since my teenage years, and I was making short films, and I wanted to make my first feature film out of this short film that was also called Calladita that I made in 2019 that did pretty well in the festivals and ended up being picked up by HBO for streaming in the US. But when I tried to fund this feature project, that was gonna be my debut feature, it all started to crumble because funding films is a nightmare in the traditional systems. It's all very centralized and opaque and inefficient. And so luckily I had found Web3 and NFTs a few months ago, and actually with the help of a fellow punk friend, very OG punk claimer, Tony Herrera, who a lot of you know, we came up with this idea that maybe we could use NFTs to fund the movie. And at the time, nothing like this had ever been done, and it took a few months to devise the whole project and find devs and especially find a strategy that we thought would work. And about a year ago, we launched the NFT collection in order to fund the movie. And it's been a crazy ride in this last year. We actually made the movie in September in Spain with an amazing cast of great actors and great crew and everything, and we're so happy with it. Right now, we're finishing post-production and hoping to premiere the film at festivals soon. The film will be done in around a month or so. We're currently working on like the music and color correction and all of that,
So I have some questions.
of
What was
course.
the budget for the film, out of curiosity, and
Yeah.
how much of that was derived from the NFTs?
So all of the budget is from the NFTs. And Calladita is the second feature film ever to be funded by NFTs entirely after Julie Pacino's Keepers of the Inn, and it's also the first one in Europe. And the budget, at first we set out to raise $1 million. So far we've raised around 820. So we just downgraded the budget a bit. We're scrappy with other stuff, but I mean, we were able to make it the way we always imagined, and so we're very happy with that. And right now, we like 3 days ago, we announced that the collection is gonna close in just 7 days from now. We released this kind of companion free NFTs, which are storyboards that I drew while I was preparing the shoot, and all of our holders can claim them now for free. It's kind of like as a celebration and a reward for the people who believed in us. And then we'll close the mint so that the secondary market can finally start. And and basically now it's just, a few, like we're still a bit short on the budget, mostly for some music licensing rights. And that's why we said, let's try to do a final push and see what we can get, and then close it and start the life of the film as a film.
That's super exciting. And besides like the kind of provenance of like being an early supporter, and having proof of that on chain, was there any like major or notable utility or benefits for early holders? Or is it kind of surprise stuff like what you're just doing now with the storyboards?
No, I mean there's both. From the beginning, there were a lot of utilities that were advertised from the start. Basically, the collection has 4 tiers. The highest tiers sold out pretty quickly, and they were more expensive and more rare, and came with cool utilities like being credited as an associate producer in the movie, or being invited on set to experience firsthand the creation of the movie, and things like that. And the basic tier also has cool utilities like having your name in the credits or getting a link to watch the film when it's finished before everyone else, things like that. And then also everyone gets to participate in the upcoming Kayalita DAO, which is a very cool thing that I'm very excited about. Basically, the way that we found that we could circumvent securities laws in order to kind of share the success of the movie with our holders without sending them direct revenue, because that would make the NFTs a security, is by creating this DAO, which will own 50% of the revenues of the movie in perpetuity. And so all the Calita holders get to vote on what is done with that treasury. Hopefully, we can build a new decentralized production company from the ground up that supports future filmmakers and this ecosystem of Film 3 that we're building.
Wow, I had no idea that you guys went that route. That's a pretty clever solution too, with like, the DAO being an owner and the legal entity versus like the tokens directly representing, frankly, securities. I've seen that approach done once before. I'm sure it's been done plenty of other times, but there's a group called Rick House DAO, and they were essentially like a whiskey brand that crowdfunded their whiskey project from the community via NFTs. And their quote, the first project to turn NFTs into whiskey. end quote. And it's a little bit of a zinger, but it was cool, and they were definitely building it in public. You know, having people weigh in on the branding and stuff like that, which is pretty interesting. I mean, I like the idea. Like, it's not too far off, obviously, from like a co-op, like a traditional co-op, where people, you know, have sort of profit share in the enterprise. Usually not at the scale of like, you know, how many token holders DAOs have, but it's a new medium for an existing idea, and I think it can definitely work because there's just super strong, obviously, alignment of incentives. So,
Yeah.
what like what was your motivation to like, I guess, like, do this? I mean, maybe it's separate of Web3. Maybe it's just a film you've always loved. Like you said, it was kind of like a shorter film before, and now you're elaborating on it. But can you
Yeah.
talk a little bit more to like your motivation for this whole project, or maybe some of its like mission or values or beliefs?
Yeah, of course. So the film is about a Latin American domestic worker who works for a rich family in Spain during the summer holidays. She's like a living maid, and it's a film. It's both a character study of this working class heroine, and also through her eyes, it's a satirical portrait of the bourgeois world of Spanish elites. Kind of. Even though I made the short film before any of those films existed, but you could think of Calladita as kind of a Roma meets Parasite. It's in that realm of class differences and injustice touched on a kind of satirical way. Um, and my motivation is mostly that I wanted to make this satire about the bourgeois world from back home in Spain, and then I realized that the domestic worker could be like the perfect protagonist for that kind of story because she's like kind of like a spy or a phantom in this milieu where she lives at the very center of this world, but is not an active participant, but knows everything, hears everything, sees everything, and so she can act almost like a camera, right? And there's a very interesting contrast there. And then once I had this initial idea, I interviewed a lot of domestic workers, mostly from Latin America, who were working in similar conditions, and I understood a lot of their struggles, and I learned a lot from them. And from that point onwards, the film started to be weighted uh, not only on that idea of satirizing the rich, but also of portraying this central character.
Right. Well, that's cool. And so for like a regular, like, you know, audience member, non NFT holder, like, when and where do you think they can, or how can they watch the film?
Yeah, so now it all depends on the festival programmers mostly. So a film like this, which is kind of what you would call a bit of an art house or indie film, not it doesn't mean anything, but it's just, that kind of more author-driven film. Rather than like a Marvel flick. These films mostly start their lives at the big festivals internationally, and so we are hoping to premiere at one of those big festivals soon. But the way it's super competitive, so we just submit the film and hope that the programmers will select it, and then if that happens, we can have the world premiere there. For example, think like Cannes or Sundance or Tribeca or Toronto, these kind of very famous international film festivals. And then if that happens, then it all trickles down from there because you have to wait to premiere at one of these big festivals for the film to be successful.
Yeah, yeah,
But
nice. My
then,
one of my good friends, boyfriends, had a film that just got picked up. I forget the name of it at Sundance, and it's been kind of like really interesting to see,
oh,
sort of from the
amazing.
inside, that like stage of the journey. You know, it got like bought by a larger company, and he got like his budget back. He got some payout, and then I guess he has some portion of like future box office
Hmm.
and proceeds as well.
Yeah.
I was never really familiar with how those deals are structured, but yeah, I guess like if this all goes well, what's like the primary, you know, source of revenue for your business as well as the Dow, is that like box office sales mainly, or is there something else in the fold that's notable there?
No, yeah. So it's the different windows of distribution of the movie. Can all become revenue streams, right? So first, it's the theatrical distribution for, so yeah, traditional box office in as many territories as you can find distribution for the movie. And then after that, streamers, VOD, SVOD, etc., rentals, and even TVs also buy movies, traditional TV stations, and even airplanes, for example, is a good viable revenue stream. So all of those combined, basically, but it's kind of like you go step by step because you can't premiere at the festival if you've already been in cinemas. You can't be in cinemas if you've already been in TVs, etc. You know what I mean? So it kind of goes step by step. But yeah, actually, I was at Sundance this year, so I would have loved to watch your friend's film. We were there because Kayalita received an award actually by Steven Soderbergh, who's a very legendary filmmaker who made Ocean's 11 and so many other amazing movies. And he gave us this award of 100K to finish the movie, and now has become an exec producer. So that was super exciting to be there and meet Steven and chat with him, etc.
Yeah, I'll try to get the
Mi-
name of the movie for you, but I think it's about, I haven't seen it yet, but I believe it's about like theater kids going to like theater camp. But I'll have to find the exact name for you.
All right.
I would have a question on my side, Miguel, specifically about how you guys came up with, call it maybe the tokenomics,
Uh-huh.
because I remember that your minting process was not like the typical kind of NFT minting process. It was not like this quick mint that happened within a couple of days. If I remember correctly, it's like this long process over many months. Is that correct? And if so, like how did you come up with this process, and I guess like how did you adapt along the way?
Yeah, sure. Yes, that's correct. The mint has been open for over a year now, and it's been a slow but steady process of getting more people excited and into the project. And I actually love that, to be honest. I think more projects should aim to do this, um, and I think many projects end up failing because they don't understand this dynamic. They think that the only way that you can mint out or that you can sell NFTs is via FOMO tactics of trying to get sold out in a matter of minutes or hours, and hyping the project up, attracting people who want to flip it quickly, and then selling out in hours. And that might have been great for some projects, but a lot of projects fail at trying to accomplish that. And then if you've tried that and failed, there's no way of coming back. There's because basically if you have imagine you have a 10K supply and you create a lot of FOMO, a lot of hype, you sell 3,000 NFTs, you probably made a lot of money in a few hours, but those 3,000 people who bought it were flippers who were expecting you to sell out in hours, were expecting to flip it for a profit, are now super disappointed, super angry at you, are trying to undercut the floor, are selling for a loss, and you're dead on arrival, right? Like the project is kind of it's dead there, or you don't even have a community. So we kind of realized that quickly, and we're fine with the idea that we will take longer to not even sell out, but to just raise the amount that we needed to make the film. And we are happy about that because it has meant that we have a community of strong believers who collected these NFTs because they want to hold them, and they are happy to hold them, and they are happy to go on this journey of making a movie with us. So that's been super great for us.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting because, as you said, in contrast to these quick mints, I've seen you, promoting your film for like the past year at least, going to all these events and just as one would say, grinding it out. And I think more and more projects I guess, should do that. And if we look at kind of the NFT prices today, apart from maybe the very blue chips like punks and apes, we see a lot of them dropping because they didn't live up to the FOMO hype they had in the beginning. So yeah, congrats on your side for keeping up the grind, and I think more and more projects should look into this kind of stuff.
Thank you. Yeah, I hope they will. And yeah, another thing that has been incredible with Kayarita is all of the CryptoPunk support. We have over 220 punks that minted the project, which has been incredible. I think it's the most punks that have ever minted a project that is not a PFP. So that's pretty amazing. And so, as a thank you to the whole punk community, we came up with this idea with a fellow punk, actually, Andrea from LA, who created this cool animation that I pinned up here, which is gonna be at the starting credits of the film and will include all of the punks that mint the project. And, that way your punk can be in a film, and we think that's really exciting. Which, by the way, apart from this, there's already punks and other NFTs in the movie itself. Like within the fiction of the movie, there's a whole crypto and NFT element, and there's a lot of NFT Easter eggs. So we think that DJs are really gonna love that.
Wait, that's so fun. I can't even imagine how you must have woven in NFTs of all fucking things with like a
Actually,
lady working in a house, with rich people.
yeah. So
I thought that
wait,
was
I'll touch on that shortly, but actually Danny is here in the audience. Hey Danny, and shout out to Danny because Danny created these amazing animations that are in the movie featuring Meebits. So basically, there's a couple scenes where someone plays a video game, and the video game they're playing is two Meebits fighting each other, kind of Street Fighter
Oh,
style, and it's
I
so
remember
cool.
seeing the clip of that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hey
and Danny
guys.
made it. Hey Danny,
Hey, how are you doing? I can't wait to
all
see it
good.
actually in the movie.
It's so cool, man. Yeah, I'm gonna send you some clips so you can see like the context that it's in. It's
Yes,
so
please.
cool.
Yes, please. Looking forward to the movie.
Danny, are you based
Amazing.
in Europe as well?
Yes, I'm located in Vienna, and Forever Punk was here a couple months back, so we know each other personally also.
Yes, and I added you yesterday to the chat
Yeah,
group.
yeah, yeah.
You've
Telegram.
been, not part of it for forever, so it's funny. Well, welcome on stage. And by the way, anyone in the audience who just wants to hop up and say hi and maybe share some thoughts, you're
And
welcome to do that. Um,
by the way, Valko, you were asking about like how NFTs have been included in the movie in terms of the plot and stuff. And basically, the house where the domestic worker is working at is like the summer mansion of this rich family. And basically, for even since the beginning, which I started writing the script before I even knew NFTs, it was the case that the mother of this family is a successful art gallerist, and so there was going to be a lot of cool art displayed in the house. Uh, but then, after becoming a DJ, etc., we changed that to she's a very successful gallerist, but of digital art. So there's a Fidenza in the movie, there's a few ringers, there are punks, there's other art blocks stuff. There's a squiggle. There's a photo by Justina Bersano. There's an ex copy. So many amazing art in the movie that you're gonna love. And then also the kid of the family is kind of like a rich kids of Instagram kind of guy,
LOL.
and he's a degen. He's like a crypto rich kid who has
Is
punks
he
and
is he
apes and
nice to the
stuff.
maid or is he an asshole?
Well, you'll see. It's their dynamic is quite interesting. I don't want to spoil it, but crypto and NFTs end up playing a very big role in the ending of the movie. Let's just say that.
Miguel, when is the movie gonna be out?
Yeah, Danny, hey, we don't know yet. Basically, now we're waiting for to see which festival is gonna accept it for the world premiere, and
Mm-hmm.
then we will take it from there. But
Awesome. But
we're hoping to do some maybe pre-premieres at NFT events in the coming months, like exclusive for holders, because we can't
Hmm.
really show it in public, but like if it's just a few friends who are holders coming together, we would love to do that.
All right, here's
That's
a
awesome. And
question.
then
Oh, go ahead,
after
Danny. Go
that,
ahead.
sorry, I was just wondering because I remember reading somewhere that you sold it already to HBO or something like that.
Uh,
Is that gonna
no,
be
so
af afterwards or?
the short film was sold to
Ah, the
HBO,
short. Oh,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
But
Got
the
it. Okay.
feature, yeah, after the festivals, we hope that it will go to cinemas in different
Hmm.
countries and then eventually to whatever streaming platform we get a good deal from. Yeah.
Awesome, man. Glad to be a part of it.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, so I got a question. So you have all these NFTs in the movie, which I reckon
Yes.
is considered, quote, commercial use. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'd be curious if that's correct. What sort of efforts did you go through to like secure the use of these NFTs in your film for the ones that aren't like Creative Commons CC0 projects? And was that like a high lift? Was that like a big legal effort, or was it as simple as like a DM with the owner being like, "Yo, can I use this in the movie?"
Yeah, so actually, I just pinned here a Twitter thread where I shared a lot of the artwork that is in the movie, so you can see it there. But yeah, basically, most of them are not CC0, so we got approval from the artist, and we do need to like sign a contract because down the line, someone like Netflix will ask for all the documents to prove that all the IP in the movie has been properly licensed and everything. So yeah, we just sign a simple one pager where they approve this use, and most of that happens with the actual artist because in for example with a squiggle it doesn't matter really who's the owner. This specific squiggle, I'm the owner, but what matters is the artist. So we signed the deal with Snowfro and that's it. But for example, other artists, even though they have the right to do it, they still wanted the collector to be on board, and so we talked to both, and the collector was on board, so that was cool as well. And then there's other instances where it CC0. For example, it was cool that Xcopy, we have Summer JPEG, the iconic Xcopy that 6529 owns in the movie, and so I tweeted at Xcopy being like, "Hey man, can we put the summer JPEG in the movie? It's gonna be so cool because the movie is very summery, etc." And he was like, "Yes, go ahead." But then, like 2 weeks later, he announced that it was CC0. So now we don't even need a contract or anything because I reckon getting a contract signed by Xcopy would have been definitely a tough endeavor.
And for this packet that you deliver to like somebody during due diligence, say Netflix, would showing
Yeah.
them a tweet being like, "Hey, like he said it's CC0," like would that suffice to prove that you do not need a contract?
Oh, yeah, yeah. The lawyers that I've advised with have said that yeah, like an artist announcing in a very public place, like a tweet, that an artwork is CC0 suffices for any kind of use. And X copies and other CC0 works are widely used in many different shapes and forms,
Right.
commercially and non-commercially, because of this. So yeah,
I
that's
I
all good.
wonder like for the NFTs where the creator doesn't retain the rights, and the commercial use has been explicitly given to the holder.
Yeah,
Obviously like Bored Apes are a good example of that, but there's like a million other,
or punks.
yeah, a
Yeah,
million other projects, right? I wonder what happens like if you go through the process, say you want to use my punk, you work with me, I sign a
yeah,
contract, I say, look, I'm giving him the rights to specifically use it in this film, or maybe just indefinitely to use my punk however he pleases for like a year. I wonder what
yeah.
happens if I just choose to sell that punk like the next day. Like, I wonder if like that invalidates your contract or if somehow it still withholds legitimacy. Was that a
I think.
conversation you guys ever had, or didn't need to because it was always going to the creator, not the holder?
I don't know. We have gone to some holders because we do have a punk and an ape in the movie, but I don't know the answer. What happens if they sell? We should talk to a lawyer, but I would assume that you're good because because otherwise the whole way the licensing works wouldn't even make sense, right? Because you know, you guys giving us commercial rights and we are entitled to sell those or to license those to whoever we want, but we are also entitled to sell the NFT
Right.
right after, right? As you're saying. So I would assume that that loophole has been looked at by lawyers, I hope.
Yeah. No,
But
I'd be
I do
interested
remember
because
someone mentioning this.
I'd be interested to unpack it more just because, like, you could totally game that, right? Like, Punk OTC, for example, has touched, like, a vast majority of fucking punks. Like, I don't know what the number is,
Yeah.
but, like, most daily volume, like, a lot of it comes from him. And if you looked at, like, total punks, like, he's probably touched, like, at least over 30% of them, maybe more. So I'd wonder, like,
Yeah.
if,
I think the correct numbers there are like he only touched like 15% of the whole collection.
okay,
I ran the numbers the other
that's
day.
still pretty
Yeah.
good, right? So, like, imagine if he
Hmm.
had just set up a side company like to just hoard the rights, and every punk he had,
Hmm.
he quickly signed an agreement, giving it to his side company, and then sold the punks obviously the next day. Like it's like
Hmm.
a really interesting way to
My
game it,
yeah.
if possible.
My hunch is that if it ever came to a conflict, the new owner would more likely go against the older owner
Right.
than the person who has used the license, because it's like you sold me something that had liabilities, quote unquote, and you didn't tell me, and something like that, you know?
Yeah. No, that makes sense. That makes sense. Well, dude, it's super
I
exciting.
don't know.
I'm like really eager to watch this thing. I can't wait. So you said now you're going through, I guess, some like final, like you know I guess like are you guys like fully done with the film, or you're still mastering it and like trying to secure these licenses for the music and stuff?
Um, Sorry, I missed the last part of the question.
I was just wondering like what exactly remains. I know earlier you said that you have to figure out some of the
Oh
music
yeah, in terms of
licensing stuff, but is the film like
yeah.
done otherwise?
No, in terms of process, what we are missing is a lot of the sound design, which is kind of like where you put all the atmospheric sounds and every little sound that you hear in a movie it has been recreated afterwards, like every step, every touch, etc. And we're doing that right now, and also the color correction, which is kind of like you can think of it like editing an Instagram picture, but in a much more professional scale and with a whole movie instead of just one picture. And finally, yeah, the music. So we have both a composer who's writing a score and some songs that we are licensing. And so in terms of budget, mostly what we're missing is a few grand for licensing rights of a few songs that are very popular, and so they're very expensive, unfortunately.
Yeah, yeah, it's a really interesting world, the music business. I studied music business and sound design at Berkeley College of Music in Boston. I didn't end up
Oh,
doing
great.
that. I ended up working in venture capital for like 8 years and then transitioned to crypto full time as chief of staff at Yacht Labs and quit to start my own little business here. But I think very fondly back of the days doing sound design. That stuff was like super fun. I never did films, but I did do a lot of video game stuff, and it's really an interesting like left right brain type of activity, I would say.
Yeah, for sure.
Guys, maybe if we shift slight gears here, I'd like to bring up a topic. I saw a couple of nouns in the audience, and Valko, I know you yourself are a noun. And I'd be just curious to maybe get your thoughts on how this, governance via NFTs, works. And Miguel, you also mentioned that you have some governance inbuilt into your tokens. So I don't know if you guys have a couple of thoughts on that and how that can evolve into the future. I would love to hear that.
Yeah, I mean, look, I love nouns. Like, I was never initially a huge fan of the art, but it definitely grew on me over time as I also observed the DAO and its members like kind of accomplishing cool things out there in the world. But I think my original thesis with nouns was like, look, like I think it's like two elements really. The first one being, Yuga Labs pioneered commercial rights for NFTs. Nouns pioneered CC0 for NFTs. Like they're both historically significant for those reasons. So that's kind of like point number one is that historical significance and pioneering like a new use case, if you will, for NFTs within like a legal context. The other thing is that most NFT projects have failed to um, figure out and solve the recurring revenue problem. They and that's what leads to these pump and dumps, right? They raise money, they try to coast off the initial raise, and residual royalties, which, as we all know now, are voluntary, and that basically leads to these like severe pump and dumps. Very few projects that have actually figured out a way to collect revenue on a recurring basis so that they can actually, deliver utility or value on a recurring basis. And that's basically required unless you can find a way to decentralize that recurring utility or value, which can happen, right? And then, of course, there's projects that are just art, they don't need revenues, or art, or projects that are just communities that don't really need revenue, but still, even with the community, there are costs, like, running your server, running your website, paying your mods, doing some marketing and stuff like that. So, yeah, recurring revenue is really important, and I thought Noun solved that problem. And then I think the third point ties back into like probably your like initial question, which is, I think they're just a really good case study and template for how to run a DAO. And they're constantly evolving, but like at the core of the Nouns treasury is like, um, you know, or the Nouns DAO is the treasury and their prop houses. So, effectively Nouns, they issue one new Noun a day. It sells for anywhere from 20 to 40 ETH. That's how they secure like kind of recurring revenue. And that all gets dropped into their treasury, which is managed by the DAO. One noun equals one vote. So one new noun every day. There's over 600 nouns in existence. And the treasury is at about, I want to say $45 million in revenue. So if you have one noun, you get one vote over that $45 million treasury. And there's a proposal process where effectively, you can submit an idea with a proposed transaction, like send this much Ethereum to this address, or maybe it's milestone based, right? It's like, okay, send this much now, and then send this much later once like insert milestone has been achieved. And I want to say there's been over 300, maybe 400 proposals submitted to date. And that doesn't even include like prop ideas that happen in the Discord and stuff. Like there's a lot of footwork that happens before somebody formally writes and submits a prop because it's important, like to battle test it with the community, but also kind of politically to get buy-in from the community. But at least like kind of on chain, there have been over 250, 280, maybe over 300 props submitted. And essentially, like if those get proposed, ultimately the transactions within that text document that outline a broader business case, they go through, the funding happens, and then hopefully they picked a builder that's trustworthy and that person doesn't like take the money and run. So there is some degree of trust there. But yeah, I mean, it's cool. Like you fully decentralize this treasury to effectively, it has like one goal, which is to proliferate the nouns meme in CC0. Like that's really it. So you get a bunch of people coming at this idea differently, and if the people buy into it, then the funds get allocated. And of course, everybody is very frugal with allocating funds because they're a part owner effectively in this enterprise. And proposals might not always be like, let's fund this idea. Proposals might also be like, let's change this core piece of our infrastructure, or let's actually take 5,000 ETH. This was a proposal done recently, and let's put it into a staking program so that we can collect, whatever, basically $1 million a year with the amount they put in. I think it was maybe 800K a year in yield, just from putting some money on the side. So there's also kind of like a private wealth management element to the DAO as well. And I think what I really love about Nouns, and then I'll shut up and see if you guys have any questions, is it is just hyper decentralized, like more so than most NFT projects. I think that starts with the IP being Creative Commons, but also like there's really no like founders or anyone in the mix. Like, I mean, heck, there's not even like an official Discord that I mean, there's one official Discord, but it's read only, and so the actual Discords that get used, there's like four or five separate Discords that were created entirely by different groups or cliques, I guess, if you want to call them, within the Nouns community. And so like that's another piece of the whole ecosystem that's run entirely from the
Are we
bottoms
being
up,
rugged?
grounds up
Or am I rugged?
by the community. So it's pretty cool to see. There's a lot of interesting innovations that they're doing with like the projects and some of the tooling. I mean, I really think they're a good model for, hey, I want to start a DAO. What should our governance look like at a high level? What are some of the failures we can learn from Nouns? I turn to them often. Like right now, I'm working on a project for a client to help set up a bounty program, right? They want to help decentralize in an automated fashion some of their marketing and content efforts out to their community. And I think the best way to do that is with a financial incentive and a bounty board. And I've been seriously studying the Nouns prop house, prop lot, which is a new sort of subsect of props, and some of their open rounds where there's kind of like broadly like an idea like, hey, we've designated 50 ETH for whoever can, insert thing, like do this the best, like create the best movie for Nouns, or whoever can just figure out a way to proliferate the Nouns meme the most, and then you get, it's kind of like reserved funding for an idea versus the other way around where it's like, here's an idea, we want the funding. It's like, no, the funds are allocated. There's like 10 ETH on the sidelines, and best idea wins, like go, and we'll decide in 2 weeks. So there's some really interesting stuff there that I've been using as a model and a template for fueling some of my own work, consulting with this bounty program I'm putting together. So I think Downs is cool. Big fan. I hope to get a few more, but the one I do have, I did win in the daily auction. I think I paid like 48 ETH for it. The Nouns floor is like around 25 ETH, so I'm definitely at a bit of a loss there. But I don't really care. Like I came for the community. I came to govern. I came to learn about DAOs, and I'm getting all of that out of it. If I want to turn some Nouns into an investment, maybe I'll get crazy on the secondary market. But that's generally not what my vibe is, I guess.
That's a really really interesting summary and insight into that, especially what you said, like with the recurring revenue problem. I don't think many of us think of it that way, that most projects don't have that figured out. If I'm not mistaken, there's 400 to 500 nouns currently that have been created.
It's over 600, I believe. If you go
Over
to
600.
Nouns WTF, it'll immediately show the noun being auctioned today. Auction ends in 23 hours, so one just closed for a price of 25 ETH, and
How
it's
many
645.
holders? How many holders are there? Because I imagine there's a lot of people with more than one. And then the next question would be like, how many people are like actively voting on these proposals, and like what percent are just like passive and hardly ever voting?
Yeah, so there's like I'm just looking at OpenSea now. OpenSea says it's 60% unique owners.
Okay, so that's pretty cool. So that means maybe 400 unique owners.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I mean, I think part of that is just the nature of the auction, like one new one is sold every day versus selling them instantaneously on one day, which will probably favor certain folks getting more of the pie. Doing one new every day and stretching the sale out over time, frankly, indefinitely, I think helps increase the unique holder distribution, because 60% is pretty high for an NFT project, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. But 400 holders, I guess, is fairly small as a holder base, I
Right.
guess.
Yeah, it is. CryptoPunks has been around since 2017. There's 10,000 CryptoPunks. There's a little over 4,000 holders, right? Or
Yeah.
unique wallets, rather. in terms of like the governance, I'm going to the DAO on nouns.wtf. They've got 46.8 million under management, and there's a few active proposals, but the last proposal that was executed was Prop 245. It's called Nouns, a Movie. So 243 people voted in favor of this, and 2 people voted against it. I mean, it's like a whole thing. It's
Mm-hmm.
pretty cool. I mean, they're definitely kind of similar to what Miguel's going for. They're trying to
Yeah.
decentralize the raising of funds, and it looks
By the
like
way,
it was $125,000.
Fun fact about Nouns and Cinema is that Nouns is actually the second largest backer of Calladita, and we did
Really?
that through a yeah they contributed 6.9 ETH through a proposal that passed unanimously, and it was the first time ever that an on-chain proposal that a movie got funding from an on-chain proposal that had never happened before. So that was really cool.
Yo, dude, that's badass. We should connect separately on that because I'm actually working with like a pretty big actor. He's got like a Hollywood star and shit. He's been in a few movies. I can't mention him publicly right now, but basically he's working on a startup to specifically solve this problem of like movie funding, but it's like an entire platform.
Cool.
And it's an idea phase right now, but they've secured a good bit of funding. I'm going to be stepping in to help them, get to launch and make some initial key hires. We'll see where it goes, but it's definitely up your alley. I didn't realize that bit about the first on-chain prop to fund a movie, but that's
Yeah,
kind of
sounds
like
great.
obviously very much in the direction I think we're going for.
Amazing. Yeah, for sure. Let's connect.
And
Yeah, sorry guys. Yeah, this is Fernando. I wanted to only say one thing. We were talking about like 60% unique holders, but I think you need like two nouns to like create a proposal. So I think that's really interesting because that means that it's like pretty decentralized, right? Like I need to buy like two, that'd be like 50%. So I just wanted to throw that data.
Oh yeah, that is true. Yeah, you need two nouns to do a proposal, but I'd say the caveat to that is somebody can delegate their noun to you. So you might only own one noun, but like five of your friends that also own a noun delegate their voting power to you, which they can revoke at any time. But that's kind of a cool part of the system too that I think Nine Nouns has. I don't know if they pioneered that delegation or proxy system. It's pretty obvious, right? It exists like in the world and in history. It's been a thing, but it's a nice way to shift away, I think, from like raw democracy to more of a representative and electorate based process where the community has a lot more granular, real time democratic say over who those electorates or proxies or representatives are. And I think that helps the governance run more smoothly. That's why we see, 250 votes in favor of the most recent proposal. Like that's pretty high considering there's only 650 nouns in existence. Like that's a pretty solid participation rate. I'd be interesting to unpack
I
that
guess
number
a
and
lot
see
of that
like
is
what
delegated votes as well.
yeah, it'd be interesting to see what percentage of that was like
What about you,
individual versus
Valko? Like,
delegated votes.
do you delegate or you vote yourself?
I have not delegated. I've been approached by a few people, even people that don't own nouns who are very active in the community. Like they just can't afford a noun.
Oh, wow, that's crazy.
And they're like, but they're like, look at all these things I've been doing. And they've been like, would you delegate your noun to me? And I'm like, I'm really interested, and I love the idea of supporting people who can't afford a noun but have proven that they are contributors to the ecosystem. But I've just been a little reluctant. I mean, part of it's just like wallet security, and like I really have to like
Eh,
look at the
Are you
stuff to
guys
make sure
not
it's good.
integrated? Are you guys not integrated with like delegation kind of systems, like Delegate Cash or something?
Yeah, I don't know if it's built using that sort of protocol at all. I imagine it's a different type of delegation because like it's giving you the right to vote within our DAO. But I mean,
Because
maybe
the
there's some
reason why I'm
similarities.
saying is that if every time you vote you have to vote with your nouns wallet, that's like super inconvenient, right? Because if it's a high value noun, then every time kind of signing and doing stuff with that is not great. Whereas the whole purpose of delegation would be to do kind of the frequent kind of lower level stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things like I bet if I pop the question in the Discord right now, it would get answered in like less than 60 seconds because people are so cultish with nouns. It's incredible. If you guys are remotely interested in getting a noun, like the one thing you have to do, and it frankly blew my mind, but I was also like high as fuck on dopamine because I had just won the nouns auction like a few days prior. But join the Nouns O'Clock Twitter Spaces run by an account called like Nouns Town Square. Basically, Nouns O'Clock is the moment the auction ends. It happens every 24 hours. And it's when somebody wins the previous noun, and it's the moment that the next noun is generated in a decentralized manner. But it's a really fun Twitter space full of like completely eccentric personalities, like people who are on there every day, even when it's 3 a.m. because the 24-hour clock has drifted like out of favor with their time zone. Because it's not always every 24 hours. Sometimes it takes 30 minutes, 45 minutes for the noun to be generated. Also, like the auction can extend if there are people kind of competing fiercely at the end by like 5 or so minutes. So it's not like 12 a.m. UTC like every fucking day. Like it changes. So for a while it was at like 3 a.m. Now it's rotated to like a more favorable hour for me. So it ends in 23 hours, which for me is when we start this space. So I could actually, the Nouns O'Clock probably just ended, but it's a really fun space because they basically do this game called like FOMO nouns and NOMO nouns, and I forget which one is which, but effectively like the chain in the protocol generates a new noun like every block um, during this transition period. And everybody who's part of this Twitter Spaces is on this website called like FOMO nouns or NOMO nouns, basically gets to vote on which noun gets generated next. So every block, a new noun is shown, and then people who own nouns, or frankly, you might not even need to own a noun. It might just be anybody who connects with the wallet can thumbs up or thumbs down the noun from the current block. And if any given noun gets majority thumbs up, and this happens quickly. This like it's every like 30 seconds a new noun is up on screen and people are fucking like upvoting and downvoting. And sometimes it goes on for like 100, 200 nouns before finally reaches consensus and people get a randomly generated noun that they love. But it's really cool to see because you can tell people are going for a certain vibe, like a clean look. So there is a certain degree of decentralized curation applied to every new noun that's generated, but it was really fun to see and know that like the noun I won was actually like went through that process. And so I actually went back and listened to the Nouns O'Clock for the generation of Nouns 485, which is the one I have. And it was just like, it was super fun to listen into. And it really blew my mind. And that's just one example of like a super innovative and fun thing that the community does. And any fees they collect from those projects that the community generates actually goes back to their micro nouns community to fund the development of more work and the hosting of their Twitter spaces, the Nouns O'Clock, and the promotion of their Twitter spaces. So it is super cool. Like there's basically micro little jurisdictions and municipalities popping up within the nouns ecosystem because it is so open, it is so CCO, it is so decentralized. And like, if you feel if you vibe with the Nouncelers or you vibe with Nouns Jungle or you vibe with Nouns Town Square, like you sign up for the group that you want to be a part of. And not only do you have access to the broader nouns ecosystem if you own a noun, you now can participate in their sort of like microcosm of governance and communication and events. I mean, it is really cool. It's kind of similar to like, you pick the company you want to work for. It has its own mission and values and stuff like that. You pick the city or the municipality you want to live in. And I think it's a really cool way to look at like, frankly, like what the new digital world and digital cities, if you will, or societies will look like. It's super fascinating.
Interesting. Listen, maybe I'll reach out to you and even though I don't own a noun, ask you to delegate one to me, and then I'll like fiddle around myself with all these experiments.
Yeah. Oh my
And so,
God. And you once you own a noun, people hit you up all the time. They're like, "Hey, check out my prop, man. Like,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
would love a vote." And you're kind of like, well, like that's really my reputation on the line. Like, if I vote yes and it's a rug, like, then I look like an asshole. So there's a lot of ownership in the whole process and reputation as well. But it's a beautiful thing.
No, feels like proper innovation going on over there. I wish there would be like much more of that across the space. But now, bear market, time to build, time to innovate. So yeah. Fernando, I see you hopped up on stage. How are you doing? I've seen you around quickly on Twitter, but I don't know. Say hi. Present yourself, maybe.
Yeah, hi. So, yeah, my name is Fernando. I'm from Madrid, actually. So it's really exciting to see Miguel, who I think is from Barcelona, owning a punk and launching this thing, launching the movie, Calladita. And yeah, I've been thinking about like buying a punk for like a year, I mean, I'm actually like 28, so I kind of like have the money, but not like a lot of money for it. And I finally decided I want to buy one. So I think it's really exciting. I like the punks community because I think, as you said, it's like full of builders and founders. And I just wanted to like feel more close to it before buying my first punk. Yep.
Well, that would be amazing to have you as a punk. I don't know if you checked out what I'm building. This app called foreverpunks.com, and it's basically exactly for guys like you who are looking to find their forever punk, their first punk, maybe. So if you haven't yet seen it, check it out, and we can definitely, chat afterwards, and I can help you if you want.
Yeah, I actually was checking it out yesterday. I could filter by ID of the bank, by like token ID, but I couldn't filter by like trades. I don't know, maybe if it was because something of my computer or it's not ready yet. But
We
yeah,
we do have trade filtering, and you can even like exclude trades. You can like customize it very, very advanced. And also, we're going to add bidding across punks as well soon. So, if you have a specific kind of filter or traits that you want to bid on, you'll be able to do that as well. But yeah, happy to help you with that if you want. And
okay, yeah.
I see your current profile picture is kind of a punk. What's the story behind that?
Oh, that's actually so funny. This was from my birthday 1 month ago, like almost 1 month and a half ago. And my wife actually made this made this for me as my present. And then there was like a surprise party at my house, and all my friends were with a punk on their face. So yeah, you guys can see that I've been following punks for a long time. And I don't know,
It
she did kind of
reminds me.
like a similar punk.
It reminds me a bit of Brian Armstrong's profile picture. The Coinbase
Totally.
CEO.
That's
He has
exactly
Yeah.
what I was thinking.
something similar as well. Blue background, just gold.
Yeah, it's super cool. But I guess it'll be better to have a punk. Maybe if one day I'm Brian Armstrong, I will think about it. But right now, I prefer totally to have a punk on my PFP. Yeah.
So,
Look,
so cool.
we might be biased, but it's always better to have a punk.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the same.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'd
Yeah.
love to welcome you. You're gonna be the second. As far as I know, there's no other punks that are doxed as Spaniards. So we'd love to have another one.
Oh, that'd be great. Being the second one would
Yeah,
be so great. Yeah, then I'm more
I
bullish now.
yeah. I mean, I know other punks that I know are Spaniards, but they don't dox their nationality.
Yeah,
If you
I
know what
know
I
one
mean. Yeah,
guy who lives in the south of Spain, in Marbella, but
yeah.
he's from South America. So yeah, not really Spanish. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Listen, Valko, I'm gonna have to head off. Sorry about that, but it's been great
No,
to
no
chat with you
worries.
guys.
We try to keep these to an hour. I think that's the vibe. People got shit to do, and we're obviously playing with a bunch of time zones here. So I think this is a good time to wind the spaces down. I wanted to thank you, Miguel, for joining and reaching out. It was really fun, and I'm so glad we got to ask all these opportunities and learn about, how movies work and where your project is and where it's heading. So thanks for joining. If you ever want to join again, we're running currently every Tuesday and Thursday at 9 a.m. Eastern, so same time. But I think eventually we'll play around with a couple of other time zones. But yeah, it's been really fun. Thanks everybody for joining. And if you guys ever want to like come up on stage or talk about something, just DM me or Forever Punks, and eventually we'll probably set up a formal process around this. But we're building this thing in public, and we're really excited to have you guys on this journey with us. So thanks for joining early. We will not forget it.
And the
Amazing. Thank you.
next one will be on Tuesday, correct, Valco? Next Tuesday.
That's correct.
All right. See you then.
All
Thank you,
right.
guys.
Guys, bye-bye.
Peace out, guys. Have a
Okay,
good
thank
day.
you.
Have a
Nice to
good
meet
night.
you.
Bye,
Bye.
Fernando.